One of the public sector investigations that is highlighted in this year's report involved Canada Post's Smart Mail marketing program. Our investigation revealed that Canada Post builds marketing lists with information gleaned from the envelopes and packages that it delivers to home across Canada and makes these lists available to advertisers for a fee. We found that this contravened the Privacy Act, as it had been done without the knowledge and consent of Canadians. We recommended that Canada Post stop its practice of using and disclosing personal information without first seeking authorization from Canadians. As a possible solution to remedy this matter, we recommended that Canada Post send a mail notice to Canadians to inform them of this practice and to indicate an easy way for Canadians to opt out. Until the tabling of my annual report, which made this decision public, Canada Post did not agree to implement this solution. After the report was made public, Canada Post issued a statement that it would review its policies, and I would expect Canada Post to comply with the Privacy Act, and I look forward to hearing from them on the next steps to resolve this matter.
This Guy's Garage. Like and subscribe.
And thank you to Mr. Dufresne and Mr. McGuire for being here tonight. I want to start off, I'm very disappointed that Canada Post was taking people's private information and selling it to others, and even more disappointed that when you pointed it out and asked them to stop, that they didn't really do anything until it went public, and now they're just reviewing it. Is there no remedy that you or the federal government could do to make Canada Post stop taking people's private information and selling it?
Well, this is why I've recommended to have the authority to issue binding orders, which I do not have under the private sector, either private sector or public sector. And so what I do have is the authority to make recommendations and to make those recommendations public. So this is what I have used. I was pleased to see the response from the public and parliamentarians. There was a question on the order paper that was tabled. There was a statement from Minister Duclos indicating that he had called the CEO and President CEO of Canada Post, that he had reiterated that the protection and preservation of Canadians' right to privacy is of utmost importance. And following that, the Canada Post issued a statement indicating that they would conduct a review of their services program to ensure that they live up to the standards that Canadians expect. But that's all I've had.
That's good. I mean, I hope that they do take action on that. And I think when we looked at the Official Languages Act, the Commissioner of the Official Languages needed more powers to enforce as well. So I think that's a good point to take forward. I want to follow up on your discussion about the pandemic and some privacy issues there. I mean, obviously, my employer can't share my vaccination status, and my doctor can't share my vaccination status, but during the pandemic, every bar and restaurant had a list of everybody that was there and whether or not they were vaccinated, and I thought that was a violation of PIPEDA. Did you comment about this at all in your recommendations?
We made some overall recommendations, mostly towards the public sector. Now, my colleague, this was before my arrival, but certainly there were recommendations in terms of necessity and proportionality, in terms of time limiting, in terms of making sure that you were documenting and data minimizing. And in the context of our report, we looked at the government's approaches in that sphere, and we applied the necessity and proportionality and made some conclusions there.
And were there recommendations of what to do differently in the future?
There were some recommendations, certainly in terms of. So there was one breach in the context of ArriveCAN. So we made some recommendations there in terms of stronger safety measures in terms of this type of information and making it. Avoiding errors. This was a situation where there was an error. People were told that they need to isolate it when they didn't. Making sure that you maintain good information and that you get rid of bad information. We made some recommendations sometimes in terms of the objectives. There was some debate sometimes about what was the objective in this case. Was it to increase vaccination, or was it public health, or was it both? So there were some recommendations there, and there were some recommendations in terms of documenting and keeping the information about how what other options did you consider? So there were really, in terms of that discipline of the process.
Very good, thank you. I want to turn my attention to the digital technology in C27. One of the concerns that's been raised as a gap is people are worried about deep fakes, this generative AI that will make anybody look like they're saying or doing things that they actually didn't. Did you provide any recommendations to the minister, or do you have any thoughts on how to fix that?
I think the recommendation we made on that, well, there's three that we made on specifically to AI that would both help that issue. One was mandating privacy impact assessments whenever you have a high impact system of AI, and that would be one. And so doing that, you would need as an organization to say, what's the risk? What's the privacy risk? What is the risk of these types of deepfakes? How are you mitigating that? And there are some proposed provisions in the ADA, Artificial Intelligence Data Act, that would do that as well. We recommended great transparency for AI decisions. So if a decision is made about you, you can ask an explanation. So if you see something that's strange, you see a video of you, ask that question, you get that explanation. And we also recommended collaboration between regulators. Now, we do that where we can. I've just launched with the Competition Bureau CRTC chair a digital regulators forum. But there are limits on what we can do. We can't collaborate in investigations, for example. I can do that with the FTC in the US and other countries, but I can't do it in Canada. So that's a gap that would be easily fixed. In my view, it should be fixed.
Thank you, Mr. Dufresne. Thank you, Madame Gladue.